Good morning, folks. And I'm trying to stay ahead of the game here. And we have a lot going on this week. With 35-ish running, 41 on the event, people volunteering, two different races. The 5 and the 10. We pulled our marathoners out with the 60-degree starting weather. It's going to get hot later in the day, but it's going to be humid. It's going to be humid. It's going to be damp. Possibility of rain. So we got lots of stuff to address. Real quick though, people have been asking me for our newbies that don't have our attire, our apparel for race day. I don't have anything left. If you do want to have something to race in, I do have a couple extras of my own that I would loan out, or you could possibly talk to some of your friends in the group, possibly grab something. Otherwise, you got to go Bush League, unfortunately, which I'm not a fan of, but I just don't have apparel in stock right now. I'll be placing that order very soon. I've already been doing some research, so we will have that for sure for your next events. What do we need? So we got this document here. Let's see. One second. We got this. Get those bib numbers over here. All right, that's the most important thing, is having those bib numbers so that they can quickly get our stuff ready. I will grab everything on ideal. The bib numbers need to be done today. If your bib number's not on there today, by the end of the day, or you're not on that list, we will not have your bib, and you'll be fending for yourself to figure that out. I'll get those. The plan is to get those on Thursday night. I'll have them for Friday. We're going to start at 6:30 at the gym on Friday, not 5:45, due to most people won't be here. I'll be at the gym with bibs and all your whatever comes with the Miles in the Mohawk from 6:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. on Friday. I'll have them at home on Friday afternoon, evening. Free to grab. Saturday at my house, they'll be there as well, free to grab. And then Sunday morning. Now Sunday morning it's complicated, because Sunday morning we have no marathoners, but we have the 5-miler at 8:30 and the 10-miler at 9. Shenanigans starting at Druthers around 11. You can go there before 11, but figure around 11. We'll probably be meeting somewhere 8:39, 10:30. Yeah, after 10:30, anytime after 10:30, meeting at Druthers for food and drinks and whatnot. But we have this with the start times being staggered like that. We need another photographer. I'll handle one of them, but we need another photographer, a family friend who's good with their phone, has a quality camera. If one of you has one of those people, please reach out to me, because I want to have two of us on hand. The tent will be stationed at the finish line. I still have to figure out how this is going to go down on race morning. We'll probably meet. I'll finalize this at the end of the week on Friday, but we'll probably meet on pre-race at the finish line, and then we can carpool up in as few vehicles as possible for the 10-miler, and the 5-milers are right there, so they don't have to worry about that. Super important. This is the big question that I've been getting. Race plans. So for the 10-miler, I don't have the software system that handles the 10-miler. The race is not in the database. There's no way that I can sit here and put together individual race plans for this many people all at one time. So the thing that we have with this course, with the 10-mile course, it's flat, with a net down just a little bit, some rollers, but nothing significant. The 5-miler, yes, you have that hill in the first mile, and then you have the bridge, at around the 4-mile mark as well. But how we're going to go about doing this, and if you need assistance above and beyond this, all you got to do is text me, and we can hash it out a little bit. But this is why we do assessments. This is why we have you run shorter races in a season, because when you don't run any races and then you have a race, you have to kind of guess at what you're going to do and what we can project you at. So most of us we had a time trial in the spring. We had H to H. We cannot use the 5 miler in the snow. That does not work. Our primary data points that we're going to, and so you have corporate challenge. We've got corporate challenge. We've got the 5K time trial. We've got H to H. We're not using a marathon to project shorter distance pacing strategies. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do though is check this out. This is how we're going to figure out your pacing strategy for Sunday. So if we go into our McRun, right, it's hard to see that. If we go into our McRun, you can see obviously your projections for your other race times. And so for this person, I used a 22-minute 5K, and 8K projects at 37:15, 10 mile projects at 1:16:22. Now, for the 10 miler, this person is projecting at 7:38 per mile. Now, 7:38 per mile on that 10 miler, on the 5 mile, 7:18 per mile. Now, in both, some of you that have corporate challenge had a 5K, could be another 5K. There was other 5Ks that we've done. If you have a couple data points, you look for the fastest one. What's the fastest projection that you get? Now, we're gonna need to scale a little bit because it's gonna be sweaty. It's gonna be warm, not tremendously hot unless you're in the marathon, but you look at your projection from your other data points that you get for the McRun, and I would add roughly 5 to 10 seconds per mile. Now, this doesn't apply if you don't have data points or you have a really weak data point. But for those of you that have a couple, like Pavlo has a handful, Mr. Gabriel has a handful, and some others do as well. I just think of those two. But a lot of you guys had H to H, our time trial. Like I said, you can't use a marathon. Someone like Jamal has our time trial early, which is still totally valid. He has that 5K time trial. I'd be using that. In his case, it was pretty fast, and that's going to give you a good data point. But I would take your projection, add 5 to 10 seconds, and then for the 10 miler, most notably, it's an even to negative split run. So we're going to start slow and we're going to finish fast. For the 5 miler, you've got to, in this case, for the 5 miler, off 22-minute 5K, 7:18 pace. For the 5 miler, you got to use a range. And I would say that the range on this, 7:18, I'm going to just round it up. I'm going to call my range 7:20 to 7:30, and meaning that on that uphill in the first mile, out at about half mile or 3/4 of a mile, 7:20 to 7:30, so you're going 7:30 on the ups, 7:20s on the downs, right? So 7:30 up the hill, down, 7:20, and then over the bridge. You gotta, in the 5 miler, the intensity level is so high, there's not going to be a ton of variation in your pacing. And by the time you get to that 4 mile mark and the bridge, you're kind of just running hard, folks. In the 5 miler, the 5 miler is start in your range, and once you get about halfway, you're basically going max effort. To get to the finish line, there's not a lot of variation. For the 10 miler, you've got to be a little bit more strategic. Now, 10 miler, once again, 7:38 pace. So we'll call this range we'll call it 7:38 to 7:48. We'll give you a 10-second range. And how I would go about, there's not really ups. You're not going to scale for those ups. The 10 miler, we have to be a little more cognizant of the humidity, the dew point on that day, which we won't know for sure until we get there. But I would feel good about this range of 7:38 to 7:48 on a 22-minute 5K-er, and starting at the slow end of your range, which is going to take your McRun projection, add 10 seconds per mile, and starting at that top of your range. 7:38 goes to 7:48. Starting at 7:48 and working your way down, of course, making sure that you can fast finish and get to the finish line. I don't recommend on a day with the weather that it's going to be. It's not going to be horrible. and 10 miler is not going to take that long. Some of us are going to be close to an hour. Other ones are, hour and a half, hour and 40. Start slow, finish fast, and don't start right at that projection. If you start right at that projection and you have a bunch of data points, that could be a little hairy at the end of this event. You're definitely going to want to take hydration on the course for the 10 miler. We're going to try to get out there and hand some water bottles. So you guys that are going to be running, well over an hour, could consider carrying. Yes, I'm sure some of you are going to carry. But we'll work on our hydration strategy later in the week. But the 10-second range I like. The 10-second range, you get your make run projection for 10 miles, you'll pad that by 10 seconds. That accounts for the weather, and work your way down. If you need more precise, I'm not going to give you a mile by mile on a 10 mile. The 10 miler, most of us don't have a 10 mile PR. We're not running for like such a precise time in this case. All right. We're trying to perform well, trying to do good, represent well. But in Meyer's case, we're trying to win. In Tyler's case, we're trying to get as close to winning as possible. Anything can happen on race day. But even for an example, in those two cases of Tyler and Myers, we're running for place. We're not really running for time. Thus, we don't need a extremely precise pacing plan for this type of event. We go with the 10-second range in both races. 5 miler kind of settles itself, but we want to just be careful not to hit that first mile too hard. On the 5 miler, on the 10 miler, we want to start at that 10 seconds off of our projection. More details on everything will be coming later in the week. We need a photographer along with myself, and the apparel will come soon after this event. Definitely will have them for your next events, and I hope this is helpful.